If you're thinking about transitioning from the military, this is the episode for you. Today we have Mark Peer on the show. He is an incredible guy. He and his wife embody the idea of living with Aloha. He actually transitioned from service with, get this, 17 years of active duty service in the Coast Guard. And he got out to do what he loved. He's pursuing a business venture with his wife. I can't wait for you guys to hear more about it. Thanks for joining us on today's episode.
Most people you talk to when transitioning out of the military have never actually transitioned out themselves. You're probably getting a bunch of opinions from people who plan on staying in until retirement and have no idea how to actually show empathy for your situation. This podcast is about providing fresh perspectives and a front row seat for conversations with successful veterans doing big things after leaving the military.
Hey, what's up, guys? Let me turn my video on real quick.
What's up, Mark?
Okay. Hey, how's it going? Griffin, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot of great things.
Oh, cool, man. Appreciate it. Probably from Jack. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, of
Yes.
course. Well, I feel like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I've met many people who just are always happy. I feel like every time I see you, you got that big smile on your face. And I don't know, I think it comes from living in Hawaii and be kind of living the aloha. But I feel like that is what you guys just portray and kind of, I don't know. It's amazing. I really do think that. I think you guys are just
Thanks.
living your best life and it shows with your decision. I definitely, I don't know if you probably talked to like a million people about the transition here over the last couple of years, but I'm excited
You,
to dive into it with you.
yeah, me too. I probably have talked to a lot of people about it, but mostly it was on the other side of this conversation where I wasn't talking to two other guys who successfully made the transition. I was talking to people who were probably scared for their own transition, and they were probably putting a lot of that energy onto me. Just really
Yeah.
a lot of like questioning conversations, a lot of having to explain my reasons to them. Not that I had to, but I always just feel like it's pretty easy for me to do that. So I would just go for it.
Yeah, well, that's the point of this, right? So we're trying to give people the perspective of the other side and not just people who, hey, you must do the full 20. You've put so much time and effort into this. This is you're kind of stuck. We want to give people examples of people who found success outside of the military. And I think you gained a lot from the military, right? And I think
Oh yeah.
Griffin
Oh,
and I
big
are in the
time.
same boat. We didn't leave the military with like disdain, right? But the transition is tough for people. And I think your story is going to be a great just thing for people to hear that might be on the fence and they're like, hey, people do this and it's okay. And
Yeah.
we're gonna figure it out. So
Yeah.
without further ado, can you just give the listeners kind of an understanding of what military service you did and then as it led up to the transition, what you did to kind of support that transition?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Jack. Yeah, so my name's Mark Pierre. I'm from Hawaii. I joined the Coast Guard. I enlisted in the Coast Guard in 2007 when I was 19 years old. The recruiting office was 10 minutes away from my house, and I had a uncle who was in the Coast Guard who was a helicopter rescue swimmer. So the path was kind of easy for me in that sense, where I already kind of seen someone living the life as a rescue swimmer in the Coast Guard, and I saw that life lined up with a lot of the things that I already love to do, which was be in the ocean, live an active lifestyle, and surf. So yeah, so in 2007, I went into the recruiting office. I enlisted and went off to boot camp. And like nothing can prepare you for that. Just like being like a 19-year-old kid and going off to boot camp and getting screamed at for a few months. From there, I actually was really fortunate. I got stationed in Florida. I wanted to come back home to Hawaii so bad, but the best thing I think that could have ever happened was actually moving away and getting put into just a different environment. It was great though. I was in Florida. I still got to surf and fish, and I made some really good friends, and I found some really good training partners that led to the my success at rescue swimmer school. From there, I've pretty much just been stationed. Most of my career has been stationed here in Hawaii at Air Station Barbers Point, and I also did 5 years as an instructor at the rescue swimmer school.
That's awesome. And then how many years was that total?
17 years.
17. And then what,
Yeah,
so just to give people the idea of what you're in now, like real estate photography is really the focus moving forward, right?
it is. Yeah. So Malia and I, it was really about 6 years ago. I think we saw the writing on the wall that I really didn't, at that point, when I hit my 10-year mark in the military, I wasn't really having that same amount of fun that I was in my first 10 years. It was really just became a job and something that I really didn't want to do every single day. So the kids were getting older and Malia was looking to go back to work. So we kind of just put our heads together one day. It was around Christmas time and we are like, well, what should we do? And we were kind of just like putting all of our talents in a bowl and like, hey, what can we do that we already kind of know how to do that we could put our talents together and create a business? And that's how Pure Films was started. So when we first started Pure Films, we were really just in a full service, small kind video production agency where we wanted to do commercials and small documentaries for people, but we also were keeping, like, we were also getting into the real estate just because we had worked with a realtor at buying our house. And we were like, hey, can we shoot your property? And he was like, yeah, of course. So we ended up shooting a property and we realized we enjoyed shooting real estate more than we enjoyed all the other things that we were doing. So fast forward a few years down the road and we went 100% into real estate media and that's where we are now. We're a full service real estate media company. We offer photos, videos, aerial, floor plans, real estate websites, social media content, and marketing packages. And that's what
Yeah, and you
we've
guys
been doing now.
are doing quite well. I think you guys are, like you said, there's clearly a passion for it. But
Thanks.
from talking with you, you're getting nice and busy and hiring people and making it a real, like, a absolutely successful business. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. It's becoming a successful business. I'm glad that you mentioned that because what when we first started 6 years ago, we started our business, we bought $20,000 of camera gear and computer gear, and I just put it on my personal credit card. It was a leap of faith. And that first year, we made like $1,500 in the first year. And then the second year, I think we were still in North Carolina and we made maybe $4,000. And we are like, oh, I don't know about this. And when we moved back to Hawaii, we started setting some bigger goals and Malia was like, hey, I think we can be able to pay our mortgage with what we make from our business. And at the time, that sounded crazy. Like to make $2,000 a month with our business, it sounded like I didn't even see a path to that. But, we wrote down our goals and that year we made exactly what we set for our goal. And we've been trying to double that every year since, and we've been successful. And it, I think it's just to go back, there's so much content out there and there's so much people saying like, you need to work. If you're not grinding 18 hours a day or waking up at 5 a.m, or putting everything else aside in your life, you're not going to be successful. And I think Malia and I are a testament to that. Hey, like I was active duty military working 60 to 80 hours a week, standing duty as a rescue swimmer. We have 3 kids who we love to take to the beach almost every single day. And we were still able to make it happen. I don't think it happened as fast as some other people, but as far as like a military transition goes, it worked out. It worked out perfectly. To where now we grew a business in the timing that worked for us. And now that we're out of the military, now we have a business that, okay, we're working now. We're making money. We're making enough money to live the lifestyle that we want.
What is it about you and your wife? I mean, a lot of people would, if they're in a 60 to 80 hour per week job, they would say, I don't have time to do a side hustle or to start a media company at that. What is it about you and how did you make that work? I mean, that's so impressive.
Oh, no, that's a Good question. Thanks. So I think it worked because Malia and I, we've always loved being creative together. And we picked a career path, or we picked a new business path that like lined up with what we really enjoy doing. So I think if it was something that I didn't enjoy, I don't think it would be successful. But since it's something that we enjoyed so much, like she's always been a photographer and I've always been a videographer and a video editor. So we already had all this passion for it and we were going to be doing it anyway, even if we were doing it for free. So it almost didn't seem like a job to us at first. It just felt like something very exciting and like a new adventure to do. Like I was excited to get home from work and to go and learn how to use our new cameras or to get online and dive into the course that I was taking at the time.
That's awesome. A lot of people, it sounds like you guys very much followed your passion and it ended up in a profession. But there's varying perspectives out there. There's those folks that say follow your passion and you'll love the work that you do and find a way to make money with it. But there's a lot of other folks that say find a career that you can be really good at, make good money at it, and then you'll start that'll kind of create passion, or you'll start really enjoying it because you're successful there. How would you do you fall on one side obviously your experience would kind of bias your perspective, but how would you comment on that?
I think both are true, really, because I've done for the business, we followed our passion and I think our work started to speak for itself because we loved what we did so much that we would put out quality work and we loved what we were doing. So I think sort of that love for our business was communicated to our clients. So our clients know that, hey, we're working with Mark and Malia who absolutely love what they're doing. And I think that makes our relationship with our clients better. And then as far as like just jumping into a career and getting really good at it, I feel like I kind of did that in the military and with being a rescue swimmer. So I've never done search and rescue before, but I thought it would be really cool. I jumped into it, got trained, and ended up falling in love with it for a really long time.
That's an example of what we're trying to really portray to people too, is while they're transitioning, if they want to do something to support their transition, they kind of have to find something that they do love if it's going to be after hours, nights, and weekends, right? But the other side of that is pursuing something that's going to make good money and then eventually you love it. That's super true, right? Like that a lot of people believe that's the way that you have to do it. But if you're going to do something while you're also active duty to support that transition, many people that have come on have said that's the only really way that they convince themselves to do the nights and weekends is because it was something they love to do. It wasn't an uphill battle to spend the night after a 12-hour workday working on whatever project needed to get done. And it sounds like you guys did that. And it's very clear that the passion is there. Anytime we visit, anytime Courtney's like, hey, I'm going to go to a shoot for one of my listings. I'm like, oh, can I come with you? Because I always love seeing you guys. But you're always there. You're always so focused. But the focus is from just how passionate you are about it. And I love that. I mean, it's so palpable when I visit you guys during the shoots.
Mark shooting videos or taking pictures of nights and weekends. Jack's doing Excel spreadsheets because that's his passion.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't pass up an opportunity to.
Now, if only I could make money with Excel.
Miss Excel figured it out, I guess.
Right.
You gotta dance
yeah,
to be
exactly.
her.
But man,
that's amazing.
Jack, I honestly, like Malia and I have been so inspired by what you and Courtney have built. And it's been like, you guys have been a real inspiration for us just with your transition out of the military. I feel like you were like a year ahead of me on that road. And to see you guys doing so well, it was such a boost of confidence to me to be able to be like, okay, I can do this and I can make this transition work. Because I'm not going to lie, like I was really terrified to make this decision for a long time. Like I'm just like you. We got 3 kids, mortgages, all that real life adult stuff that we have to take care of. And like hanging up that paycheck that you're going to get and just being like, okay, I'm going to let this thing go. I think it's easier said than done.
Well, why at 17 years? I guess that's probably the classic question. Like there's so many people out there that are like, I'm at 15, or I've heard so many people say I'm at 12 and I just got to make it 8 more years. I'm like, dude, that's almost a decade of your life. You're just coasting through. Like, so why
Oh, I
17?
know. Yeah, people think I'm crazy for it. A lot of people think I'm crazy for getting out at 17 years, but I was actually going to get out around 12 years when I was stationed in North Carolina. But we got orders back home to Hawaii, and we realized, wow, that is like the perfect ticket to be able to come home, use our VA loan, buy a house in the neighborhood that we want to live, and then get out after. And at the time, once I got orders back to Hawaii, I was thinking, well, maybe I will stay in the full 20 years. But like circumstances changed. We grew our business. And so we are like kind of fell back on the, you know what? We're just going to go ahead and cash out for the military and walk away, not re-enlist, and then just stay here in Hawaii, grow our business, and really never look back.
Yeah. I can't imagine why you and Jack want to stay in Hawaii. I mean, doesn't make any.
Wait, where are
Well,
you at, Griffin?
I'm in what most would call the Hawaii of the East Coast, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh, cool, cool, awesome. Malia and I, we love North Carolina.
Raleigh is a phenomenal spot. We've been here a little over a year now. Moved up. I got out of the military, was teaching RTC at Georgia Tech, so I was living in Atlanta, and then moved up to Raleigh once I got out. It's been a phenomenal decision for our family.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes, North Carolina's great. We like some of our best years were our 5 years living on the Outer Banks. Just the best. It was just the best people, and man, our money went a lot further. We had we had a really nice house, which was awesome. A really
Yeah.
nice house by the beach, and really good friends, and just a really good community. And then now we moved back to Hawaii. We have we have the smallest little house, but we love it. But it's tough. It's like 700 square feet, and we have 3 kids.
Oh wow. You need to keep them outside mostly.
I try to.
Give him a surfboard and tell him to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got one of our surfboards on the wall here.
Yeah. Doors are locked from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. No coming
Oh, man.
inside.
I wish.
We'll scoot lunch under the door.
I want to get your perspective on this, but a lot of people talk to me about getting out at the 12-year mark, and I assume a lot of people talk to you as well. For the longest time, our family assessed getting out of the military or staying in as the known quantity was staying in, because you could look 5 years down the road or 12 years down the road and you knew what your income was going to be. You knew that you're going to be able to at least have that paycheck coming in and for the rest of your life after retirement. It's a known quantity. But then for us, when we realized that money isn't everything and everything else besides money was sort of an unknown quantity when it comes to the military, like where you're going to live, how many dinners you're going to get with your kids, like are you going to go to their sporting events, are you going to be gone for 9 months or 12 months for deployments or PCSs that you can't bring your family for. The known quantities started to be the family and getting out of the military. And when I changed that in my brain, I almost couldn't stay in the military because money isn't everything. And in fact, getting out of the military oftentimes can be more lucrative than staying in. So what did you guys think about that? And with the transition, although it's relatively recent, have you seen that the peace of mind has been from family time and everything? Have you gained more than just the money aspect of the military?
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah, it's hard for me to say just yet. So this is only I think my 10th day. It's only my 10th day out. I'm technically still in. I'm on the Skill Bridge program right now. But yeah, that's some really good points you make. I think the Coast Guard is different from the Army in that way, where I knew I would never have to go and do a PCS without my family. We don't really deploy. It's kind of like being a firefighter. So there would be usually every week, there'd be about 2 days, so 48 hours, where I would be away from the house. I would just be at work on call with a crew, a couple of pilots and a flight mechanic and a ground crew. And we would just hang out, barbecue, work out, and wait for calls, do training flights. I think one of the biggest things for me was there was sort of like this turning point moment where I was talking to a friend of mine, and I remember him saying, well, it's so risky to get out of the military. And he was another rescue swimmer. And I remember telling him, I'm like, man, I don't know that any job is more risky than the one we're doing right now. And wasn't really thinking that so much, but I was sort of just my response. And that response sort of settled with me. And I realized that, man, my job is so dangerous. And I'm out in this helicopter a few nights a week, just doing drills over the water or going out and doing medevacs or responding to plane crashes. And although it's like exciting and it's very rewarding to do those things, there was always that every 2 weeks just being like, man, I'm not making enough money to live the life I want to live when I'm not at work. Um, I just thought it was when I really started to break it down. And it was actually once we had our business, I really started to break the finances down and say, wow, I've been doing this job for almost 17 years now. I'm one of the most senior guys at my unit, and I'm not making $100,000 a year, and I'm risking my life most days at work. And sort of once I let all of that set in, I thought it's definitely time to make a change.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask if you're comfortable sharing, was the company making, like, had you gotten to the point where it was making more than your day job? Because I think a lot of people, even if they have a side hustle, they're probably like, I don't feel comfortable leaving my day job until the side hustle kind of eclipses that. So had you hit that point?
We had just hit, it's funny, like it's probably not a coincidence. That was the point that we were at where we were making the same exact amount of money in the
Mhm.
business as we were in the Coast Guard. And with the business, I get to go and work with Malia. It's pretty easy compared to jumping out of helicopters. It's much easier to just walk into a home, take pictures and video of it. And I get to really enjoy like the presence of my wife while I do it. And so that definitely helped like make that decision easier for
Do you
us.
ever just rent a
Yeah.
helicopter to take like a nice aerial picture from over the ocean and just like relive the glory days a little bit?
No, it's funny because like on my last day of work, they were like, hey, do you want to go on a final flight? And I'm like, I just, I said, no, thanks. Oh,
I'll
man, no,
I'll go
thanks.
surf, man. I don't, I'm good.
Yeah, I did. I went and surfed. I went and surfed with all the boys, and we had a great day. Had some beers, caught some waves, went and ate lunch together, and that was it. But no, there's no part of me that misses being in a helicopter.
Yeah. I'm really curious, and nor do I miss being in a helicopter, especially not an Osprey. I don't know if you've been in one of those, but
No,
horrible experience. And maybe that's too soon to say given some of the recent mishaps. But I'm really curious, Mark, when you started your company, you made $1,700 in year one. That was like
yeah,
11 or 12 years into being in the Coast Guard. How did you imagine the company would play out, or how did you foresee it going? And how does that compare to where it is now?
yeah. At that point, I was like, well, maybe we'll just. When we made such a small amount of money when we first started, I'm like, well, maybe we'll just continue doing this as our passion and find a way to pay off this credit card debt. And then slowly we started to realize it was not until we moved to back home when Malia set that goal of being able to pay our mortgage every month and we did it. And then the next year we set a goal to double it and we did it. So that next year we did about $50,000 in sales. And then I'm like, hey, let's double it again. And then it's funny how it all works. Sometimes like Malia has the faith to set the goals and sometimes I have the faith to set the goals and we kind of feed off of each other. But I remember when we made 50,000 and Malia said, I want to double it. My mind, the doubt was just like, I don't know how we're going to do this, like with still working full time. And it just happened. And then this past year, we said, hey, we're going to double it again. And it's like, it's so cool. And I'm not like talking about it to brag or anything, but it's just such a big deal for me to set that goal and accomplish it. And so we're on track to accomplish that goal. And now I'm just like, okay, how do we keep this thing going, but continue to have fun with it?
That's amazing. And you're hiring team members?
Yeah, we have two full-time editors. So we have a full-time photo editor and a full-time video editor as well.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So me and Malia are still doing all the shooting. We haven't been able to let go of that yet. I don't know if we ever will. I don't know. But we kind of just take it a day at a time.
And when you make the goal, right, that it puts a mark on the wall. And I think that's something that people should be doing. If you're facing a transition and you're thinking of, hey, I do want to get out at some point. Maybe I'm not, as thrilled with my current military job as I was in the past. and I want to make a transition, put a goal on paper and things will start to accumulate and things will start to just happen. And a year later, you'll blink and you'll be like, oh, wow, we actually accomplished some things. But if you don't set those goals, then it's a lot harder to make things happen.
Yeah, if you don't set the goal, it won't happen. It just won't
Right.
happen. And honestly, Malia is the one to thank for it because she's really been the driving force behind this company because I just didn't always have the brain space to be able to sort of just think about all of it. So she did most of the work. She set most of the goals. She was the one who said, you know what, like we need to hire people to start helping us with the photos and the videos. And I remember when she said that, I was like, no, that's crazy. We can't afford it. And honestly, it was the best thing that's ever happened to our company because it's freed up so much time for us. And I didn't realize how many hours I was spending on the computer. I'd get home. It got to the point where it wasn't so fun because I would get home from Coast Guard work. I would have to tell the kids, hey guys, I love you, but I got to get on the computer and go play outside with your friends. And then now I'm on the computer until 9 o'clock at night, just to take a step outside. The kids are sleeping on the couch. I'm like, oh man, I need to figure something out. But luckily Malia figured that out for us.
That's awesome.
I'm curious, what are just generally speaking, you don't have to give specific numbers if you don't want to, but what are kind of like the margins on a media business or photography business? Like, is it a pretty profitable business that someone, if they like doing photography, or if they like this sort of thing, is it something that you would recommend pursuing from a profitability stance?
I don't think it's as profitable as shooting weddings or even shooting family portraits. But for us, it just worked out for our lifestyle and we enjoy doing it. And we've created like a pretty big media package that pretty much all of our main clients buy every single time. And we've gotten really good at that process of turning it around. So it's pretty profitable for us. I would say we see for every dollar of sales that we make, Malia and I see 55 cents of that after everything is said and done, after taxes are paid, after operating expenses are paid. So it's pretty good.
And
I'd say like,
that's with
yeah,
2 hires as well?
yes.
Wow, that's impressive. That's a great margin.
Yeah. And you know what? Like one of the things that we did when we really became a real business, I had a friend recommend a book called Profit First to
Mhm.
me.
Yep.
And I read it and I would say it's saved like at least so much headaches for us. And it's like helped our business grow because I think for a lot of people, when they start growing a business, they're like, oh my God, I made $100. I have $100, but that's not the truth. The truth is when you make $100, you probably have 50 or $60 or 30 or $40.
Yeah, if you're
And
lucky.
that's in order to if you're lucky, then that's in order to keep growing your business. So to be able to have that knowledge and to have that path when we were only making $20,000 that year, it helped us so much to be able to buy new equipment, to hire people. Without that, I think we would have just been spending all our money and then panicking around tax time.
Have you heard the story of Shaquille O'Neal when he got his first real paycheck? I can't remember the numbers, but in his head, I mean, the check was like 500 grand and he went and he bought like 5 $100,000 things.
Just a pair of
And
shoes for him.
yeah, no, but he bought like
Custom.
a car for himself, a car. He literally just spent, and he was tracking it all, and he spent $500,000. And his financial guy called him and was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I just spent 500. I made 500. It's all good." And clearly, he's made some incredible business moves since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the story of his first paycheck in the NBA. It was like he just spent 100% of it.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
I don't blame him at all because no one teaches us this stuff. When you work for a big organization, when you get your paycheck, everything that goes into your account is essentially yours because they take out the taxes and they take out the social security and they take out your medical withholding. It's all, we're spoon fed all of this stuff. And then when you go into entrepreneurship, it's just like it's like this whole intimidating beast.
Yeah.
That's the hardest. That's been the most stressful part for us. And I know that it's like for you guys as well, but the same thing happened to us where I remember Courtney telling Malia and I a story where she's like, my home state just told me I owe $30,000 in taxes. And I remember being like, oh my God, what are you going to do? And you get through it. It's so funny because a few months later, we learned that we hadn't been paying our taxes right. I thought we were paying enough taxes. We were setting 19% or 15% of our earnings aside. And I forgot to account for 4.7% Hawaii general excise tax. And we owed 12,000. And I was like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
But we learned, you live and learn.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the first thing we did was fire our CPA. And I knew was, yeah, that absolutely happened.
I was gonna say
That's a
this
big
all sounds like a
mistake.
CPA problem to me.
Yeah. Well, we were both residents in Wisconsin, and she filed my resident or my Wisconsin taxes, but she didn't file Courtney's taxes. So we were prepared for it, but it was definitely a surprise for sure. Yeah. I do love that you mentioned, like, obviously this is a team, right? Like your business is a team between the two of you. And I think I don't want to speak for Griffin, but I think I can on this subject. We both married very strong, intelligent women. And I think you're the same, Mark. I think, and I heard this thing, it takes a strong man to marry a strong woman. And I think we're all in good company here. So it's awesome.
I think so.
We do ask every single guest on the show two questions, and it's really a two-part question. One is one ask and one give. And we've had a lot of different responses. But basically, this is going to go out to a lot of people. It can be anything from like, hey, follow me on social media or whatever. And then one give to the audience as well that you're willing to leave with either a piece of advice or something that you have to give.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was looking at the questions and I was thinking, I don't know, like as far as an ask goes, but that's a good one. But yeah, check us out. Yeah. Follow us on social media. We're Peer Films on Instagram, and it's Malia and I, and we run the account. So if you reach out to message, you're going to hear a response from us. And as far as a give goes, I always just tell, especially like my friends who are PCSing to Hawaii from the Coast Guard, I'm like, hey, just give me a call because I work with a lot of really good people in the real estate industry. And I always feel like I can line them up with a person who's going to really help them and like they're really going to vibe with. Like, like an example for that is all my friends who've been PCSing. I'm like, I just give them Courtney's number and I'm like, dude, because it's a really stressful thing because right now it's really hard to sell houses because the interest rates are so high and the market's so high here in Hawaii. So the fallback is to rent your house, which in the long run might be the best thing ever for them. But that's a really stressful thing for someone who has a young family, is PCS and trying to buy another house at their next unit. And it's felt really good for me to just be able to be like, hey, give Courtney a call and she'll line up everything for you and she'll find someone to rent your house and you won't have to worry about it at all. And that helps our business as well. So it's worked out perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something we
Yeah.
try to do. And like you said, it's kind of a one-stop shop, whether they're leaving or coming to the island. And Courtney's got a lot of different options for people. So it's not just like, you should buy a house. Like
Yeah.
that's not the right option for everybody. But we have a lot of different things that we can offer as far as advice. And we try to put ourselves in their shoes. We don't tell people what we would do necessarily. We try to understand their situation and their goals and then give advice based on our experiences, but based also on their life and like what their situation is. So, and I know Courtney's the best at doing that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. You guys are awesome. And yeah, it's great. It's great and Malia and I being in this industry and like we get to work with a lot of good people and we have a lot of good friends. So we line them up with people who we think that they're gonna vibe together. And usually it works out perfectly.
what's the coolest house you guys have photographed?
Oh man. Okay.
Shaquille
So
O'Neal's house.
now we shot a $10 million beach house over in Port Lock. So over right past Diamond Head. And that might have been the coolest. That was one of the coolest shoots that we've done. just because the way, like right when you walked in the door, the house it literally just felt like it opened up to the ocean. So that was a really cool house to shoot. I get really stoked when those come up because those are the ones that I like will edit myself. I'll bring them back to the computer and it'll be like, I want to make this the way I want to make this. I'm not sending this to, no offense to Michael, our editor, but I'm like, I'm going to take this on because I have this vision for it. So we've shot a few that are like that. We've shot a few that were designed by architects. It's wild. It's wild to see the way people design these houses. But most of those are on our website. So if you want to check those out, go to peerfilms.com.
Nice. Yeah, and it's PEER, right?
Yeah.
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 It's interesting. We had another guest whose last name was PERE. So we've had two that are, but he was Pere, like French,
Okay.
French pronunciation. But it was just obviously very close there.
It is really close. I wonder if we're cousins somehow or something.
Right.
Yeah, a spelling error back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, he was
I
a
think those
former
happen
Marine,
a
so
lot.
maybe he's just spelling it incorrectly.
The crayon smudged. Mark, you mentioned you're in a SkillBridge program. Before we wrap up here, I want to hit on that just real quickly. Can you tell us more about that and how you're doing it, who you're doing it through?
Yeah, I'm doing my SkillBridge program they're called the Wilt Group, and it's a real estate program, and they're brokered by EXP. And one of our clients, shout out to Zor Morales, I was shooting his house one day, and I told him I'm getting out, and he's like, have you looked into SkillBridge? And I was like, I've heard about it. And he's like, I just did it through this company, and he's like, it was great. And I'm like, well, I don't really know that I want to be a realtor or a real estate agent. And he's like, you could just do it and see if you're into it. And if you like it, great. If not, there's no harm, no foul.
Yeah, Zor's a West Point classmate of mine, so I know him quite well.
Awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zor's a good dude.
Yeah, actually, I should probably reach out and ask him to see if he wants to come on here.
Oh, you should. Yeah, great guy. Him and Samantha, they're so cool, and they're just so cool to work with. We're actually right after this, I'm gonna go shoot one of his houses.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
he
good
was
community.
unique because he commissioned out of West Point, but he commissioned into the Marine Corps, which is pretty rare. Most of us go Army, but he did that like whole switch with finding somebody in the Navy or Naval Academy that wants to go Army, and I think they switch, and he ended up going Marine Corps. So
I didn't even know that you could do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a helicopter pilot in the Marines.
We talk about the SkillBridge program on here a lot because I think a CSP is one of the so few people actually do it. I think it's hard to find good data, but like fewer than 10% of people actually do one of those getting out of the military. And part of that's like getting chain of command approval, but it's an amazing way to smooth out your transition. And like you said, a lot of times it's a great way of dipping your toe into something that you may not even want to do, but at least like giving it a try and learning that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think a lot of people don't do it because they sort of get that, gosh, what's the phrase where there's just an analysis paralysis, where they don't know exactly what they want to do and they can't find a SkillBridge program that aligns with exactly what they want to do. So they just don't do it. They say, you know what, I've only got 6 months left anyway. I'm just going to stick it out and do my job. I had a buddy who that was his decision. In his case, he found a SkillBridge, and by the time he went to fully sign up for it, they weren't accepting any more people. And so he just let it die on the vine and stayed at work, and which was totally fine. He ended up taking terminal leave. Another roadblock that people hit with SkillBridge is because it's so new. And at the end of the day, the strain really is on the command and the unit. Commands can be really critical of SkillBridge. I know that my command, they don't really allow people to take 6 months. I was really lucky to get 4 months. Most people get 3 months. So I know like it probably varies unit to unit, but some units, they'll give you 6 months and some units don't want to give you anything.
And a little known secret about it, and you have to find the right organization to support it, but you can virtually do it with any job. Like there's all kinds of jobs that have a specific SkillBridge program that kind of partner with it, but you can also take a little kind of startup company, and as long as you have endorsement from both the Army side and that company side to vouch that they're doing mentorship and it's like a legit employment situation, then you can set it up. So there's for those listening that may be thinking like, I can't find exactly what I want to do that is supported by SkillBridge, there are ways of getting creative to do a program in whatever endeavor you want to try out, even if it's not a previously approved kind of situation.
Oh, that's pretty good that the Army allows that. Because I know for the Coast Guard, it has to be on the approved DoD GillBridge
Oh,
list.
wow.
Yeah. So it makes your pool a lot smaller for where you can apply to.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's some nonprofits actually. I believe they will help arrange this for every branch of the service, but I know for sure for the Army and for the Navy and Air Force, they support and help arrange skill bridges that are not on the official kind of like skill bridge DoD
That's
list or
cool.
whatever. So it's a phenomenal setup. Mark, I have to ask, and this is quite a pivot, but what are your thoughts on the Guardian movie with Kevin Costner and Ashton Kutcher?
Loved it. It's so funny. There's so many swimmers who are like, "Oh, that movie's so stupid. It's so unrealistic." And I'm like, I mean, honestly, it's like, I loved it. I loved it. I watched it. It came out, I think, in 2000 and after Hurricane Katrina, and then I joined in 2007. So I was like watching that movie. I can't tell you how many times I've watched it and got pumped up by it. I'd say for the most part, it's pretty accurate with the exception of like some Hollywood things. Like one of the biggest things that stood out to me that I'm like, we definitely don't do that was when they were finishing their rescue swimmer school program and they took them out in the helicopter and they threw them out of the helicopter into like the stormy ocean. And Ashton Kutcher's like, they're not coming back for us. And like, they wouldn't do that. But that was really unrealistic. But other than that, I mean, some of the most wild parts of the movie that they show are based on real cases that have happened. Like there was definitely at the beginning of the movie where he's in the water and the helicopter crashes. That happened to somebody. So I thought the movie was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Army is just trying to prevent future Army folks from watching that movie so they don't go Coast Guard because it's such an inspiring, great movie. It's like it's the worst recruiting pitch
Yeah.
for every other branch.
Oh man. Now Army has they have Black Hawk Down. Everyone's every guy's favorite movie of all time, Black Hawk Down.
We've got plenty of our own good ones, that's for sure.
I was in a
Yeah,
tank unit
yeah.
when Fury came out, and that was a big hit. And that was
Oh, I
like
bet.
you said, it was very Hollywood, but also get behind the tankers just on the last stand. That's a fun movie to get behind.
Wasn't Shia LaBeouf in your squad, Jack?
I had plenty that were as crazy as Shia LaBeouf seems to be.
That was the most realistic part of that movie.
Yeah.
Go
Well,
back and
thanks,
watch that
Mark.
again.
Hey, I really appreciate you, man. I can't say enough nice things about you and Malia. I think, like I said, I think every interactions I've had with you guys, you've just been happy. You kind of spread that to other people. And I know Courtney and I talk about you guys all the time. So maybe we can get the families together here soon and maybe teach Tommy how to surf here one of these days.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Hey, we feel the exact same about you guys. You guys have like helped our business and just through us like watching your journey inspired us so much. So thanks, Jack. I really appreciate that coming from you.
This has been
Yeah.
awesome, Mark. I look forward to seeing Pure Films double year over year going forward too. It's great.
We'll see if we can make that happen. And I hope we can do it. Thanks, Griffin.
Of course.
If I could just leave everyone with one thing, most of the people who we talk to when we're transitioning out of the military are people who have never transitioned out of the military. We're talking to all the people at our unit, and sometimes they're not trying to give you bad advice. They're trying to give you good advice, but 9 times out of 10, they're not coming from a place of actual knowledge of transitioning out of the military. So I think sometimes most of our anxiety about leaving comes from those conversations that we have at work. So just be careful with those conversations because they can really drag you in the wrong direction. And you know in your heart where you need to be. And usually you're the only one who knows. So you need to be true to yourself and follow that path, whether it's staying in or getting out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate. I think everybody needs to hear that because it's true. Like you're surrounded by those who have not done what you're thinking of doing. So, well, thanks again, Mark. I appreciate your time.
Well, thanks so much, guys.
Great to meet you, Mark.
You too, Griffin. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Veteran Ventures Podcast. If you heard something interesting or found the show to be helpful, send it to a friend who is transitioning out of the military or considering a transition. We'd also really appreciate if you left a rating and review of the show. That helps us reach more people with these amazing stories of successful veterans. We'll catch you next time on the Veteran Ventures Podcast. And until then, go do the thing. Make that decision, have that conversation, and go find your next mission.